I'm going to be analyzing one of the first scenes in the movie that takes place in Oakland and just kind of talking about how it develops, or how the Black Panther creators develop the idea of a transfer of power between Njobu and T'Chaka. And they do this through the use of different camera shots and lighting techniques. So in this first shot, you kind of see a low angle shot, a point of view from below, which typically gives off a sense of power to what is above or what is high up in the shot, which in this case is T'Chaka's plane. So in this scene, the power is with T'Chaka. He is the one in power. He kind of has a fearful aura surrounding him, and additionally, the plane portrayed in almost a godlike fashion, descending from the sky down onto Earth. And then additionally, looking at how lighting further develops this, everything in the scene is kind of dark except for that plane, which gives off, a bluish tint, making it almost otherworldly. And again, like furthering the development of that sense of power that T'Chaka's plane has over the scene. So moving on to the next scene, kind of almost the polar opposite of that first scene. So this is a higher angle shot, point of view from above, which is typically used to instill fear in the viewer or a sense of fear. So in this scene, thinking about who's in power, still T'Chaka in power, we're looking down from the point of view of Njobu, who's very fearful, worried about his son, taking a last look at his son, which we know because later on he is killed. And kind of looking at how lighting affects this, there is only one light in the scene. You see that street lamp, and building off of the idea that it's Njobu's last chance to see his son Eric, that light kind of symbolizing his last hope, that last chance of seeing his son. And then again, just that sense of power that T'Chaka has over this scene, forcing Njobu to be fearful, forcing him to look down. So moving on to the next scene, this is where T'Chaka takes off his helmet, reveals himself. It's a medium shot, but more specifically, or more importantly, a symmetrical shot, which is typically used when a shot is at rest. So in this scene, I feel like the biggest point that I want to make here is that there is no imbalance of power. The power in this scene is evenly spread out, at rest, safe, it's very calm, and we know this because of T'Chaka's removal of his helmet. And then so kind of building off that removal of the helmet, I want to look at how lighting affects this. So you can see his suit, his helmet, very dark. The darkness gives off a sense of fearful power. But as he takes off that dark helmet, it's a sign of respect, and he's also giving up his power. He's taking away the power imbalance by revealing himself, making him seem more human, in a way removing that godlike aura that kind of surrounded him as he descended in his plane. So no power either way, just true equal power in this scene. And then just another scene that I wanted to look at, which just kind of shows the power imbalance between Njobu and James. It's a medium shot composition. There's a person on the right who's in power, which is Njobu. And then lighting also affecting this in a pretty cool way, which I wanted to point out. So James, you can see, is in the background, but his face is also partially in the darkness, which kind of symbolizes or represents how he has stayed hidden in the shadows, just gathering info on Njobu so that he can eventually be the one in power as he gives out information of Njobu's betrayal. So moving on to this scene, it's a medium shot, almost an over-the-shoulder shot, but again, I wanted to focus on how the person on the right, in terms of that composition, is used to show who is in power. right? You do have the over-the-shoulder shot to show who Njobu's talking to, which is T'Chaka. However, I think it is important to note how, in terms of the rule of thirds, Njobu is really the only one who's in a significant spot. James kind of in the background, a little closer to the center, and T'Chaka away on the left side, and then both James and T'Chaka kind of retreating into the shadows. So all of these things kind of help show that Njobu is in power, and this is the first time that we see the power really shift to Njobu, especially in these interactions. So I just feel like that's interesting. Njobu feels like he's in power because it's his house. He's comfortable now with his brother. He thinks everything's okay. But in reality, that will soon flip. And then kind of, again, just going back to the lighting, it not only helps show who's in power, but also helps define the emotions more clearly. So by using a dark background and shining light on Njobu's face, it shows his joy, shows his calm, and shows how he is at rest and not fearful anymore. Shows that he's definitely in power here. But then very quick flip from that to the last scene that I wanted to talk about, which is another over-the-shoulder shot, but also a close-up. More specifically, the close-up type is of emotion. And something that close-ups are definitely very useful for, especially in this scene. It shows first off who's in power. So T'Chaka on the right, Njobu on the left, so quick flip from the last scene. And Njobu has been killed. And the close-up shows the emotions that T'Chaka is feeling because of this killing. And additionally, adding on to the power shift back to T'Chaka, it's a different type of power that T'Chaka now has, right? So rather than a power based on fear, the power that T'Chaka has is now based on responsibility, based on the responsibility of being the Black Panther, and being forced to protect his people, like James, even if that means killing his brother. So just one final thing. I know I'm a little bit over the time limit, but I just wanted to talk about how that shift of power kind of connects to Things Fall Apart. So you can see that in this scene, T'Chaka shifts from having power due to fear to having power due to responsibility. And I just found some parallels between that and Okonkwo's power, or what power he seeks to have. So at the start of Things Fall Apart, he's portrayed as this, famous fighter. People fear him, especially in times of war. But as the book further develops to where we are now, his power, what he seeks to have, what the power that he truly has, is based off of the responsibility that he has to take care of both his family, but also now, and I'm sure that this will develop further in the book, but the power or the responsibility that he needs to defend his village from the new religion. So I'm sorry that I went a little bit over, but I just wanted to try and fit that in. Thank you.